I'm pressing record. Okay. So it's my birthday.
Give it to him, Rick.
Meyers.
Give it to him.
I got Adam here, and so this is great. Rick just mentioned my loss in front of my son at the World Series of Tai Chi push hands, which was I was the head judge, so I was not a competitor. But in my opinion, it's important for the judges to compete, to be able to compete against any of the players. And so it was great. So Sifu Nick Aslop beat me 14-8 on fixed step push hands, the first of its kind in the US with the risen pedestals, Tai Chi World Cup style, Taiwanese style. So Rick Meyers just mentioned Rick Barrett, who I actually trained with at William C.C. Chen's, Grandmaster William C.C. Chen's. I trained with in preparation for my first Tai Chi World Cup in 2004, I believe. And it might have been even a little bit more because after Josh Waitskin dropped off the team and just essentially became the coach and without competing, I believe Rick was still there when I was preparing for the 05 ICMACs in Orlando, where the top team in the world, Taiwan, came to visit us and were highly disappointed by the American ecosystem of Tai Chi push hands. They were incredibly disappointed.
Yeah.
And Rick was judging that event in Orlando of 2005 in June or July of 2005. And there's some clips online on my YouTube channel. So Rick was just saying about training.
I understand all of that. You know, now that you've added all this information, I started learning true Kung Fu, as I call it, in Taiwan. I mean, I'd been searching for what I considered elevated true Kung Fu throughout when I discovered Kung Fu in 1978. I went and searched to learn it here in America, never found it. It was all karate, taekwondo, judo. I did all of that. But again, even then, I was developing my style of Kung Fu, which I still call Don't Hurt Me. And when I teach it, I call it Don't Hurt Yourself. And it wasn't until I was sent to Taiwan in 2001 by Inside Kung Fu magazine, where I was an editor, that I found my teacher who was doing Qigong, Fang Song Li, and he taught me more in 20 minutes than I had learned in the past 23 years. And suddenly I went, oh, and you know, what's nice about my style of Kung Fu, Don't Hurt Me, our motto is open mind, open hand, open heart. And once my mind is opened, it doesn't close again. Even today, when I talk to all these other Tai Chi students, they do the class, they're going, oh, this is amazing, this is amazing. And by the way, the class is a wee bit of alchemy every Tuesday night on Zoom. You can go to Rick Barrett's YouTube room and see all the 90 plus ones we've done already during the pandemic. And
a wee bit of alchemy, it's called?
A wee bit of alchemy.
I like that name. It's great.
Start from the beginning. And Rick has changed a lot because Rick also does the Tai Chi alchemy in Sedona, Arizona every year. And I went to a bunch of those. And also a lot of the students close their minds as soon as the class is over. But I don't do that. Once my mind is open, it stays open. And Rick, when he was with Chen, had a different style. And now if you just start watching the wee bit of alchemies on YouTube, you'll start seeing where it's going. But when you and I pushed all those years ago, Jan, I kept trying for you to stop trying to unbalance me and get into balance with me. That was the first step. Because, you know, when I was working with Steve Watson, the world heavyweight Tai Chi push hands champion at that time, who I met in Taiwan at the championships.
Who I also trained with Rick at William C.C. Chen.
Yeah, and Rick, again, Rick and Fang Song Li and Stephen taught me just how important the internal mental aspect is. Because we call it the body-mind now. We don't call it the mind or body, the mind and body, it's body-mind. They're in partnership. And you can see the way each of those guys taught and how they learned, how they got better. Because, you know, of course, I was Kung Fu consultant on Kung Fu Panda. And the big trick at the end of Kung Fu Panda is, no, I figured it out. You know, in other words, did Sifu teach you that? No, I figured it out. And that's the whole idea. So when I was working with you, what I was trying to get you to do is to stop trying to win and start trying to share, because that was the next step. If you shared, if they felt your energy and you felt theirs, then you could take the next step, which is they could never win, because all you would do is return their energy to them without using any of your own. You would just return their energy to them. And I have one of the students for Steve, he always, whenever he showed up, he was always awesome. He'd always go, push me. And I'm going, I'm not going to push you, because I know what's going to happen if I push you. But it was so exciting to push him. I was kidding around with him. I would push him. And the moment my hand went out, his hand went out, not to this hand, but to my shoulder. I went to his shoulder, he went to my shoulder. And when I pushed him, it made me smile, and then it made me laugh, because I would just keep doing it and he'd just keep doing it. And I'd start saying, stop pushing yourself, Rick. Stop pushing yourself, Rick. Stop pushing yourself, Rick. Because I was pushing myself through him. It was, again, another mind-opening moment. It was just kind of like, yeah, this works. And it's just a matter, again, training your brain to accept it, and then letting them, he couldn't push you over, because he would be pushing himself over. All he would ever do, once you learn that. But first you have to learn to share the energy, to meet in the middle, not the winning mentality, to my mind, is always the losing mentality. Because you're not there to win. As Steve put it the first time I met him, when he was winning, Steve was doing push hands with everybody at the Taiwan Tai Chi Championships. And when his friend came over and said, don't you think you should start getting ready for your match? And he goes, I'm not here to win. I'm here to learn and make friends. And that, it was another thing where I went, yep, this is what I've been looking for my whole life. So yeah, give that a try. Because it's just like, especially now, where the pandemic has taught me, and hopefully more people, that take this time to be with yourself, to develop yourself, because you can't go anyplace, but you can go into your favorite place, the one place you actually live. I don't live here, I live inside of this. So then it's just a matter of exploring this and becoming incredibly powerful through love, because that's the other thing I learned, that, love is literally, hilariously, the most powerful thing. If you use love on a so-called opponent, you'll be far more powerful than if you use anger or hate or frustration or whatever negative emotion. Rick taught me to be able, no, it was actually Don Ethan Miller, another Tai Chi giant, who taught me how to throw somebody across the room without using any of my own energy. It was just, again, approach it with love. Share that energy. And then if that person wants to toss you, they'll be tossing themselves. Okay.
So I want to say I deeply appreciate and love all the things you just said. And I want to add a few layers to the conversation. One of which is, when I use WIN as an acronym for wealthy inner narrative. And so I focus on, like, winning to me is actually having the wealthy inner narrative.
Right.
And if I have that, that wealthy inner narrative includes the love, and it also includes a bunch of layers of understanding how that love can practically be applied, and practically includes an understanding of timing. And being present, understanding what the data is from the past, and being able to sense as well as predict the future without necessarily having to have overt stimuli. And what I mean by that is that you can see, just from looking at somebody, where the tension is in their body, because your eye has the subtle, is used to processing the subtleties in the form and the posture, et cetera. And there's a bunch of other things that I'm not saying right now, but essentially it's a dense, there's density there.
Yeah, my question to you is it can be practically applied to do what?
So to do anything. And so this anything is when applied to sport, and now I'm adding the layer of athleticism here. And I have not watched the video yet of me against Nick, because I had my own personal experience of it. I also had my experience of his game. And it's really important to note that we were playing unlimited weight class. And in this, this is not a ranked thing, but he had 60 pounds on me. And so like at some point I felt like, man, I can't, if I do this move, I won't be able to withstand that 60 pounds. And so I felt personally during this match that strategically I started gassing because I was in the lead for the first like 5 points or so. And I have to check, like, don't quote me on that, but there was a point where it was 5 something and I was in the lead, and then I got a point taken away for grabbing, which we're going to remove any traditional floaty clothing, where it's only going to be rash guards coming for the next tournament. But what I'm getting at is that I think that while I know that my body was not at the competitive shape that it should have been in, or it could have been, not should have, because I wasn't a competitor. But I'm also aware that strategically, I should have been able to outperform. And I was very, very clear that about halfway through, I'm like, wow, I'm not coming up with the same ideas that I was coming up with in the first few points. And, there's a bunch of contributing factors for that. And I'm not using these as excuses, but getting to that moment, I did not have the mental capacity to perform the way I wanted to perform. And so I'm totally aware of the training I could have done to prepare myself just more dynamically, as well as getting more sleep and getting better diet for that. So I have to take all that into account. I'm going to do a breakdown video of it soon, but I think I have to look at it from that standpoint of saying, okay, I know I have strategic concepts that this player does not have. I know that this player has weight that I don't have and other particular advantages.
It's weight that you could use. That's 60 extra pounds.
100%. So absolutely, I completely agree with you, because I was playing with mostly guys to prepare for this. I was actually playing with mostly guys his weight, but they weren't as competitively experienced as him. They were from either other martial arts, or they were former Tai Chi push hands players that, let's say, got more into bouncing and street fighting, etc. And so I was like, okay, this is great. I can play with these guys, but they may not be in the game in the same way. And he was very much in the game, and that's to his credit. And I want to be clear with everyone who might watch this, that I have no desire to take anything away from Nick. I think Nick is very, very talented. My desire is to continue to build an ecosystem that takes the strategies that we've seen as the U.S. Tai Chi push hands team under Josh and under me as the captain and coach for my time period on there, and to be able to share them readily with the new players and the new crop, so we can actually build an American Tai Chi system for players here that have the data that isn't readily available because they're not playing the Tai Chi World Cup in Taiwan. Yeah. So yes.
Yeah, if the goal is to win, you'll always limit yourself. If the goal is to learn, you'll always win. So
I agree with you, and we also still want to have the #1 team in the world.
I completely agree with you, and now I'm going to close the mind again. Here we go. The #1 team in the world.
#1 team in the world. Got my little. I'm gonna bring my little.
I want to change.
Bruce Lee action figure here.
Now, who do I want to bring? Oh, by the way, I want to bring my. You want to know who the greatest kung fu guy is? You'll find out July 1st in the movie theaters.
Oh my gosh! Should I be paying attention to the minions?
Check out the trailer for the new movie coming out July 1st. You'll notice they're doing something which I taught them.
Hold on, are you an advisor on this film?
Yeah, I was consultant on this film.
Oh man, this is the new Minions film?
It's The Rise of Gru. Minions.
I think Jet, my little son, has been waiting for that.
Well, take a look at the trailer.
So if I look out the window right now, there's a giant minion. out the window because we're right by Universal Studios in North
Well,
Hollywood.
look at the toys. There's already the one of the what do they call it? The one of the pops is Kung Fu Kevin.
Kung Fu Kevin?
Kung Fu Kevin. And they all learn Kung Fu in the movie. They learn it from Michelle Yeoh.
Is she in the movie?
As a voice, yeah.
Oh, wow.
She's the voice of their teacher.
I want to see her new film too, that little everything, what I don't know what it's called, but it looks fantastic.
Oh, that's also amazing. That's also just.
I love the Marshall Club. Those guys, I love those guys. Andy
those
Lee and those guys.
awesome. So in any case, so yeah. So again, yeah. All right.
Rick, I want to make sure you and Adam meet for a second here, because Adam Weinberg is just a delightful human being who's also in the media space, who's also a Tai Chi Qigong practitioner, who is really, really in tune with a bunch of complementary modalities. So he is also a big supporter of the Justice for Hire and real world endeavor as well. So it's just great to see both of you on the same screen.
Someday I'll get to do, I was slightly saddened when I saw that Fox had a show called The Cleaning Lady. And I went, oh, they ripped that off from me. But I want to still do our Justice for Hire things. It's going to be complicated. Vincent Lin is in the Ukraine today.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And his Charlotte, who are both going to be cast members of My Little Bit, she's now working in a New York law firm. So I'm going to be curious when and if I ever get to get out into the world again, how we're going to be able to put the thing together. I'm pretty sure Pierre Edouard, who's also a cast member, will still be able to be in it, but who knows? I still don't know when we'll be able to do it. I mean, it looks like we're going to be going the full 5-year pandemic. That again, humans learn nothing. Because
I saw somebody post something that kind of discouraged me, and I don't even like repeating it, but I think it's appropriate a place to start and then move from what I wanted to share with you both. Is he said, those who don't know history are doomed to repeat it, and everybody who knows history, it has to stand by the sidelines while everybody else repeats it.
Yeah, I wanted to do a set of T-shirts saying "Doomed to repeat it."
Yeah.
But that's true.
On the other hand, where Jan and I connected was at a spiritual center in Manhattan that was like a WeWork, like a co-working
He's been
facility,
to the assemblage.
called the Assemblage.
Mm-hmm.
And he was the one. And our language patterns are kind of similar, the way that we approach things. And I think that's why the owner put us together. And we're the only two guys teaching Qigong in the whole facility. Everybody else was yoga, Reiki, these types of things. And when Jan and I started exploring Neigong together, that's where, for me, things got really, intense, because as I was doing the push hands with with Qigong informed movement, and then further dissected into Neigong informed, interaction with my Qua and these things, I started to see how I was having that push hands dynamic with everybody I was interacting with in New York City, where if I lent my energy, mostly I would say from my throat. All of my energy was coming through my voice, because that's how nobody's communicating physically in New York, and nobody touches each other. So if my language was too strong, I would see how I was already unbalancing them. So learning how to, through the push hands, let them come to me and then guide them back to themselves, started to impact my business in a positive way. And so I would, as I was talking to people, be maintaining an awareness of my Dantian, and be maintaining an awareness of what emotion was arising. And people always say to me, like, what are you wiggling for? What you got ants in your pants? I'm like, I'm just moving energy, because I don't want to, you just said something that would have angered the old me, but I don't want to engage with that anger and then have an argument about that you said something I don't like. I want to embrace the diversity of your opinion and see how that can inform my perspective. And so, so fast forward, of course, the pandemic dismantles all of the relationships that we were all building at that time and sent us into our caves. And I started to see how even the people like in my building, the other day, I broke my heart. The woman had McDonald's delivered. And the amount of money that it costs to have McDonald's delivered, like, is at a level of what we were just saying about that doom, which is why I love this band from Virginia called Windhand. They're doom metal, and they're so when I recorded them in the studio, they had a bundle of incense the size of my face on the top of a stack of speakers that was taller than I was. And so Windhand for doom metal. But I wanted to mention two things. First of all, I'm kind of like gabbing because of the level of knowledge that you have, Rick, and how great it is just to be in your presence, because the vibe that you emit, is tangible, and I'd love to interact more. And I'm really I don't know if other combat modalities have a healing modality associated with it besides Tai Chi. And so that's my first question. But before we go there, my question for Jan is, does it affect your competitive performance having the injury that you have? Because does that play a factor in you being able to do the kinds of things you love to do, or does that give you an advantage because of the way that you're compensating for it? Nobody else has that injury to compensate for.
The quick answer to that is that for the first time in my life, for the last several weeks, even leading up to the tournament, I felt like falling apart. And after the tournament, I actually felt like I was just going to drop. And that's because I intentionally take on a lot. As a matter of fact, Ting Jing Healing, Ben Sanchez, who's a former push hands competitor, who's amazing with Tai Chi body brushing trademark. Because he told me don't say bone setting anymore because it's legally the wrong thing to say. But he identified that in my body the week, 2 weeks before the tournament. He was like, "Hey man, like what I'm seeing here is that you tank and you just keep on going." And that's what maybe not what I've had to do, but it's what I've chosen to get to where we are with all the, like, Real World is a full-time experience. The production company Creative Impulse is a full-time experience. Justice for Hire is a full-time experience. Training is a full-time experience. So all of these things, being a dad, all of that stuff mixed together. And I do my best not to complain about it, but I'm doing my best also to be very honest. So there has been for the last few weeks, I've definitely felt that, and I haven't really stopped since I came back out to California in 2020. So there's been kind of no breaks, except when I got COVID on Christmas. That was my first break, was getting COVID on Christmas. And I was like, you know what? I'm going to take a few days. So that being said, I'm aware that I've been, last week I took the entire week off. I was messed up. And this week is my first week back in training. And I'm just shifting a lot of my behaviors and my patterns for getting to sleep earlier, because normally I'm the last one to sleep after midnight. I'm the first one awake, before 7 a.m. So like I said, and I've gone to the hospital like several times for this kind of behavior in years past, from just kind of like pushing myself, burning the candle on both ends. So I'm just balancing that out now as an entrepreneur and as an athlete. But well,
I don't know if this, because we're on recording, I don't know if this is public knowledge, the injury that I'm referring to. So if we, if I don't want to mention it and blow your cover.
Oh, blow my cover. I'm not sure exactly what I thought you were talking about, like the knee from scootering.
No, your wrists.
Oh, and that's not an injury, that's birth. I'm very public about that. I can't turn my wrists. I have scar tissue from birth.
That's what I'm saying is how does that impact your competitiveness? And does it give you an advantage because other people wouldn't be familiar with it, or does it give you a disadvantage that you're compensating for?
I think all the limitations are opportunities for unique growth and unique approach. And I think that if it wasn't for me having essentially fused bands in the muscles from birth, and not being able to turn my wrists over, which makes me have to do different concepts, integrate different concepts into my push hands game, or like, missing pectoral major here from birth. So like, this is all essentially rib cage rather than muscle, and having to fight differently from my first Sancho fights with Lee Tai Lung when I was 18 and all that. So all of that to me is just, I'm like, hey, I don't have this muscle here because I have an open heart, like all these things of reframing them for myself so that I can, give in the way that I'm supposed to give. So I'm doing my best to constantly stay.
That is beautiful. That is beautiful. Well, to turn it back over to Rick, my other comment is as he was saying about working with love and the biochemistry of love, and how that that electromagnetic field that creates, and the mindset that creates in terms of how you're interacting with your, quote unquote opponent. That really resonates with me, and I would love to hear more about that. And like, I study David I've studied David Hawkins and Power versus Force, and the new guy on the scene, Joe Dispenza, and with everything that he has furthered since the Heart Math Institute out of Stanford, the research out of Stanford with the Heart Math Institute out of California, that being in a state of coherence. Like, the buddy of mine is the former world kickboxing champion out of Scotland, and when he's asked how he was able to withstand so much abuse in the ring, he said he was in a state of coherence through Heart Math. So what I'm really curious about, the most part, is just, what other combat modalities out there have a healing component to them, and because those folks don't know how to heal internally, how to stimulate stem cells and fresh blood from their bone marrow, for example.
I've been doing that.
So just, I'm kind of feeding you a scenario. I'd just love to hear your, I've heard how I talk about it. I'd love to hear how you talk about it.
Well, I agree with what Jet Li told me. A Kung Fu student's only true opponent is themselves. And by getting into, and literally on the streets of New York, somebody recognized me, and I was near Sifu Yan Ming's place.
Oh, he kicked me out. He's a great guy.
He's an awesome guy. I love him.
I love him too. I send people to the school all the time.
I love his girl. I love his woman even more. But because, honesty, I can get honesty. But somebody asked me on the street, what's the best Kung Fu style? What's the best martial arts style? What's the best style? And my reply was, they're all the same. And he went, and I went, yeah, human body, human mind, the world around them. The rest is money and ego. And I hear about this competitiveness, and I hear about this competition, and I hear about the opponent. And I liked what, again, what Watson told me. If you have an enemy, that's at least half your fault. And the highest form of Kung Fu is not to fight. In my documentary, in my book, I translated the word Kung Fu into human achievement. Not martial arts, that's wuxia. Human achievement. Or how Jet Li described it, concerted effort toward a specific goal. But that also leaves the door open. What's your specific goal? Winning, competing, hurting yourself? If that's your goal, you're already in a no-win scenario. If you're spending all your time damaging yourself and then searching for some way to heal yourself, it's kind of like, listen, I'm older than you guys, probably put together, and I know I know the end of the story. As a writer, I know the end of the story. Every story ends exactly the same way, the end. And it's just a matter of how you feel at the end. Also, as Kung Fu Santa, I've met 4-year-olds, and when I came back to the children's hospital the following year, one of those 4-year-olds wasn't there, not because she didn't want to be. So I know that it all depends. It's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when. And it's also a matter of how well, if you saw the new Michelle Yeoh movie, Everything Everywhere All at Once, and also the whole multiverse concept, it's, yeah, it's how you use your time, not how much time you have, and also how you end your time. Are you able to say at the end, that was fun? That was good. I enjoyed myself. I love myself. Therefore, I love everything and everyone. Then you're in pretty good shape. Also, I agree. When I looked at all the teachers I've had I started learning in 1978, martial arts in 1978 to 2001, Kung Fu from 2001 forever. Ultimately, it all comes back to, again, there are no styles. It's one thing, human body, human mind, the world around them. But then I go back to my favorite teaching, which is not something he was able to teach to a lot of people, which was what Bruce Lee said. Learn everything you can from everyone and everything you can. Then we go back to Kung Fu Panda again. The final thing that people, Life of Brian, Bruce Lee. Life of Brian is saying, think for yourselves. And they all repeat in unison, we will think for ourselves, which means that they're trying to, so everybody with Bruce, they just, he says, learn everything you can from everyone you can. But then he says, then make it your own. All the fans I know, the fan ghouls, as I call them, all the ones who are dancing on his grave, they forget that part. We will just copy you. We will make the noise. We will be aggressive. We will use our fists. And it's like, the only guy who ever kind of actively, publicly followed what Bruce actually said was Jackie Chan. Jackie Chan was asked to be the Bruce Lee clone. He said, fuck that. I tried it once, it sinks. I'm going to be me. And so he created his own style and he became a huge superstar. And of course he would. And that's what I'm trying to do with Justice for Hire. Again, I'm trying to see what all these other guys are doing. And I'm going to go, nope, I'm going to make it more logical.
Speaking of Justice for Hire, that's a good place to enter some new data for Jan. And now knowing that you're involved, oh my God, my neighbors. So like, I'm trying to build some relationships with my neighbors.
Yeah.
And I live in a small building.
Yeah.
The gentleman across the hallway is a photographer.
Yeah.
The gentleman downstairs is an armed security guard manager and trainer.
Yeah.
And the guy across the hallway from him is a former NYPD mounted horseback, former NYPD. So, and a pilot. So I have a park across the street. And in this park, we have a dog park, a basketball court, a children's play.
Is that the Chinatown one? Is that the Chinatown?
No, I'm in New Jersey, West New York.
Jersey. Okay. Where in New Jersey?
West New York. It's right above Weehawken, right above the Lincoln Tunnel.
Sure. Okay. Yeah.
And the Port Imperial Ferry is a 5-minute walk from me. So we have a baseball diamond. We have a skate park. We've got a tennis court, handball court, and some really cool little alcoves and some stone steps and things. And if I set up my cameras appropriately, and you guys can see over Zoom, of course, what's going on and help me block the shot properly. And I have a former NYPD and an armed security guard trainer to run some drills with. As I understand it, a lot of times it's just about blocking the shot and getting the footage and adding you can always do a shot with the head like this and like that and add the dialogue in the background. If there's just a couple of key facial emotions and a couple of key dialogue, then everything else can be added later.
Yep.
And we can get a few shots. And I think that we could have a lot of fun in this park towards, ultimately for me, I want to interact with the city in terms of starting a community garden in the park and having everybody contribute to some kind of herbalism stuff. So anyway, that's how I dream when I walk outside and
All right. Let me give you the lesson. One of the high precepts of my style of Kung Fu is, it starts with the highest form of Kung Fu is not to fight, to make your enemy your friend. And if somebody wants to try to hurt themselves by trying to hurt you, you're you as a Kung Fu student will help them hurt themselves if they choose. But the major thing in my specific form is you cannot read anyone else's mind. You can only read your own. That's where you should start and continue. You're looking to get other people to do things. Start with yourself. Until you want to make friends with these people, you have to make yourself into somebody they want to be friends with. And that's by being understanding, knowing yourself, finding your internal landmines and defusing them. Finding out why you do things, what's motivating you. People are always out. People are always saying you, and I'm always going I. And again, open hand. Not, fists, not push. It's always, you seem upset. Can I buy you a beer? It's, you start with you. Everything comes from you. You literally, again, where do I live? I live in here. What do I do for a living? I live. And because I'm stuck with me, I mean, for the last 3 years, literally stuck with myself, I just exalted in me. I just exalted. And now because of what Rick Barrett is teaching and Fong Song Lee is teaching in terms of, I mean, he begrudgingly does martial. 95% of what he's teaching now is internal healing. And it has been, again, Rick taught me, and again, in 20 minutes, more than I had learned in 23 years. In terms of, I mean, and now as I'm getting older and the ship is beginning to break down, I'm the captain of the ship. I'll be leaving the ship when the ship breaks down. I could tell you the whole story of my father dying and coming back from the dead at my request. But in any case, his internal healing, I mean, I was having wicked pains here. And on the basis of my research, it was the beginning of arthritis. And with the healing stuff that Rick, again, just go to YouTube, Rick Barrett, Wee Bit of Alchemy, start with number 1, 95. And at the end of it, you will be able to, again, the only reason healing applications aren't in every martial arts is because of money and ego. Because that's when I teach my style, I don't ask for money. I don't have a school. Because once you have a school and students, the desire to make a living makes you teach what they want rather than what they should know. And I don't care if anybody takes my teaching at all. I'm taking my teaching and I am benefiting enormously from it. And it's simply because I have an open mind. Because most people I've met, again, a lot of the things that happen in the push hands, like was happening in Sedona, we would have these in muscles I trust, in fists I trust guys. And oftentimes Rick would always pair them with me because they were huge and muscular and I am what I am. And they would start pushing and start pushing and start pushing. And I would just start smiling wider and wider and letting them push me, letting them push me, letting them push me, letting them push me, until I got to a place where I could go no further. And then I would anchor, I would root, and I would lean in, I would place my hands that were filled with their energy upon them and say, you don't have to prove to me you're a man. And ultimately, when I hear all these guys, also in Justice for Hire, I watch what the goal of each of these scenes is. Again, it's to win, it's to beat somebody. And also but underneath all of that, the thing that I think is the foundation for the flaw of all of that is that they're trying to prove that they're tough, and my favorite word, badass. Trying to prove, and I'd always go, who are you trying to prove that to? Ultimately, I watch these scenes. They're not really trying to prove it to their opponent. They're trying to prove it to themselves. Everybody's trying to prove to themselves how tough they are, how much I can take. How can you take all that abuse? my question is always, why are you taking all that abuse? There is no blocking in my style, because I don't want you to punch me in the face. Why would I want you to punch me on the arm? Because especially you don't need to do it. It's always, you're able to move and control and use their energy against them. Yeah, I don't want you to prove how badass and tough you are. I want you to prove how smart and effective you are. And that's, I always say, I don't know, I have my dear friend, Fat Samurai Guy, PHAT, Fat Samurai Guy. He has a YouTube channel. We do video stuff. We do Kung Fu movies and stuff on his YouTube channel. And he's always saying, badass, badass, badass. And I'm going, no, I am not a badass. I strive to be a good ass. And also, for the most part, even a great ass. And what's great about being a great ass is that people are able to go, oh, Rick Meyers, what a great ass that guy is. And I'm going, that's right. That's right. So again, that's what I want to do with my Justice for Hire bit. Again, to teach the difference between smart and effective, somebody who does not want to hurt themselves, someone who does not want to hurt anyone else. The moment someone does this and uses this thing, all they're telling me is, I want to hurt myself. I want to prove how tough I am, how much I can take. Why would you want to take anything? Because I know what happens at the end after you've taken all that abuse. You don't come back, you don't come out better. You come out, Alan Goldberg, he's got all these injuries because he spent his whole life trying to prove himself. Not to me. He's trying to prove himself to himself from bad parenting or whatever. So ultimately, the goal is, it's all eternal. It's all there inside you. You figure it out. You study your human mind, your human body, the world around you. And you see how it all interconnects. And you try to make it all better. You try to show how smart and effective you are. So when I teach, I'm not teaching them, I'm saying, here's a book on human physiology. Find all the places on the human body where all you have to do is that. And not even hard. And I was just, because of this pain, which is no longer here, by the way, I was saying to Rick, because I also do I take Tai Chi from a bunch of other teachers all over the world. I do my 45-minute regimen in the morning, and I'm doing the pressure points here.
Yep.
But for years, but even I fell into the trap, which was no pain, no gain. Well, I'm going to be really tough. I want to feel that muscle, man. And now I'm Kung Fu Santa. And so Rick was saying, would Santa do that? No. Everything is tenderness. Everything is love. Everything is kindness. And of course, overnight, literally overnight, because now we're learning how to train our brains. So while we sleep, we're still healing ourselves. So when we wake up, we're not all stiff and headachy or whatever. We're starting to learn that process. But I learned the process here. The moment I stopped slamming my hands together to feel the energy, all I have to do is call upon it. All I have to do is tap into the big chi, as Rick calls it, which you'll learn from the Wee Bits of Alchemy.
Wee Bits of Alchemy, yeah.
Yeah, Wee Bit of Alchemy on YouTube.
I just opened it.
Yeah. And so now I do everything tender. I treat one of the great things that ever happened, I was going to a Tai Chi event in New York at the park by the ferry, the Staten Island ferry. And I was having sciatic-like pains in my leg over the previous few years. And a lightning bolt went right through my leg on the train. And I looked at it, and my instant reaction was like, bam, I whacked my leg. And one of my Tai Chi friends leaned over and went, Rick, that's you're hitting. I went, of course, treat myself. That's another one of my lessons in my style of Kung Fu. Treat yourself at least as well as that which you say you love the most. Because I know a lot of people who treat a lot of other people much better than they treat themselves. Much better. And I was sort of like going from that moment, when I hit myself, I said, no. I think of all my problems and all my pains as lost crying little children. And I'm not going to backhand a lost crying little child. I am going to, hey, buddy. And that's what Rick is also teaching. Everything he teaches is treat yourself at least as well as that which you say you love them. And so now all my healing motions, it's as simple, again, as having an open mind. Because, you take your hands, you rub them together. A lot of people, all these elements I've had are gone now. My last medical checkup, the doctor called my blood work immaculate. That was the word he used. And the dentist, I went to the dentist, everyone in the office was coming over to look at my mouth because they were expecting me, I'm now at the age where things would start to be falling out. But it was a matter of, people would say to me when I got rid of the sciatica, when I got rid of the arthritis, they would say, well, that's just your imagination. And my reply was, exactly. Exactly. Yep. Because it's body-mind. It's not mind or body, mind and body. It's body-mind. And it's like, I'm going to use my imagination to tap into the big chi, to let the energy flow, to let it heal. Now I do a little mantra as I'm going to sleep, which is rest, relax, repair, regenerate. And those are the instructions I'm leaving with my mind as I go to bed. Sometimes I go healing, health, harmony too. Now I find as I get older that I can feel my balance beginning to go. So now I'm working on balance stuff. But again, it's all a matter of looking at myself and going, I'm there for you, baby. I'm there for you, Rick. I'm your best friend, your best critic, your best judge. I'm going to be there for you and do what I can. So whenever anything happens now, it's just another, makes me smile. It's like
There's
another lovely child. But go on. Yeah, I'll talk forever if you don't stop me.
Well, no, I mean, and it's ringing some bells in my mind that I want to get out before I lose them, which is Grandmaster Nan Lu, who's in Flatiron, New York City.
Yeah.
He teaches as a basic for anybody doing acupuncture through his facility and the acupuncturist that he has. The opening qigong that he teaches is the 4 gateways, and the first gateway is 5 minutes of this, and he says it'll solve 70% of your problems.
Right.
And then 5 minutes of this, and that'll solve 20 more percent. And then there's some pelvis banging and stuff. But
pelvis banging, right?
But
we call it tapping. We do pelvis tapping. We don't do
ringing the bell, I guess. But
is it aggressive or is it healing or is it aggressive?
Oh no, it's just just swinging and and
yeah. But when you rub, are you rubbing like? Are you?
No. It's I mean,
be nice to yourself.
Yeah, of course. And where things really in New York City, the teacher that I found that had gone to learn from the Medicineless Hospital brought over a gentleman named Master Zhanshe to teach us Jineng Qigong. And in the Medicineless Hospital, Dr. Pang Ming, this is what Greg Braden is his famous video of them dissolving a tumor in 3 minutes through chanting on the sonogram. So Dr. Pang Ming's style of Qigong has as a foundational thing, which is Hao La, already healed, already in a perfect state, nothing else needs to be done. And I get a resonance in my body as my association, Hao La, like I'll get an endorphin rush just from saying it out loud, which is why I love to bring it into conversation. But the thing about what you're saying about people being in these situations on, because ultimately it's going to come down to combat. That's what every major motion picture has. Every storyline on TV has.
I intend to change that.
And so for example, if I gave you a scenario across the street, I've got a basketball court. What is the I always look at it like there are different types of fisherman's knots, and each fisherman's knot is a story. How does it loop and come back to itself? So what is the story of a bunch of gentlemen on a basketball court, and what's the dialogue look like that brings in the principle that you're trying to express?
Well, it's super easy. It's all of that's super easy. Have them do the wrong thing and you do the right thing. In other words, if they're aggressive trying to prove to themselves or anybody else, it's just a matter of somebody, you know, with a long beard, just sort of like going, I mean, what's the goal? There's a Shaw Brothers movie called The Supreme Swordsman. And The Supreme Swordsman is only in like 10 minutes of the movie. But there's a wonderful moment. The villain is spending the whole movie killing all these sword makers and all these other swordsmen so he can get a sword good enough to take on the Supreme Swordsman's sword. And in the middle of the movie, he's killed the teacher, he's killed those, and he's got the sword, and he goes in to see the Supreme Swordsman who's in his grand hall, and he's sitting under, you know, and his sword is behind him on the rack, and he's doing calligraphy. And the villain goes, I want to fight you. And the Supreme Swordsman goes, what for? And he goes, I want your sword. The Supreme Swordsman turns around, picks up the sword, breaks it, and throws it to him, and then goes back to his calligraphy. So again, it's the person's goal. I mean, in my thing, there's this girl in my Justice for Hire planned thing. There's this girl who's trying to get revenge for the death of her sister who died of a drug overdose, and she wants to get revenge on the drug pushers. She finds one of the drug pushers, she corners him, and then she's been training how to fight, and she goes to try to beat him up, and he just beats the crap out of her. And he's about to do something terrible to her when the door behind them opens and the cleaner walks in, me in my custodian outfit, and I go, oh, so sorry, no, I didn't see anything. I closed the door. And he goes, well, even if he calls the cops, it's going to be too late for you. And then I'm going to have a big close-up of his face, and suddenly his face is going to go, and he's going to get all red and flushed, and then he's going to slowly fall over, and I'll be behind him with a bloody baseball bat.
Oh.
And I lean in, and I look at her, and I go, that's the way you do it. And then the rest of the scene is me cleaning up, because I am an actual custodian. I'm cleaning up and trying to get rid of him because I know he has his friends outside. But meanwhile, I'm reprimanding her. I'm telling her that that's not the way you do it. Where did you learn how to fight like? I'm saying, don't bother telling me. I know where you learned to fight like that from some woman who thinks that she can be as strong and as badass as a man. That's not the way you want to do it. You want to fight to win. You do not want to fight to prove yourself. And I pick up the corpse of the guy, and I go, yeah, I saw you were using your fist. Punch it, punch it, punch it. Punch him as hard as you can. Come on, punch him. And she finally punches him and goes, how did that feel? How did that feel? And she goes, not good. I said, yeah. And then finally, I put him in his bloody body in my roller garbage can, and I'm about to leave, and in comes a fellow custodian with me and goes, you're still not shutting up. It's too late now. And then his friends come in, and the friends see me holding his little corpse up, and then I look at them and they look at me, and I go, and I drop him into the can. He disappears in the can. That leads to the next episode where I show, because my custodian friend is a female, the one who came in and said, you talk too long again. She's a female. And so I use her to show the other girl, this is the way you fight somebody. This is the way you fight a guy who has 60 pounds on you, who's solid muscles. This is the way you fight. You don't fight like them. You don't fight with your muscles and your anger and your fists. You get smarter than that. And so my female friend just takes the other guy apart, because she's not going to fight the way he fights, because she's not stupid. And again, book on human physiology and a book on human psychology. Talk amongst yourselves for a second. I put some chicken in the oven about an hour ago. I have to make sure it's not burning down the house. I'll be right back.
Adam, I just want to touch on, like, if you have people that you want to shoot something with, I think the first question is along the lines of I put out a JFH video to the community today saying thank you, that essentially, having had this project since I was 17 years old in high school, 23 years later, and it's finally moving, and it's moving because of you, because you've been the missing ingredient. And one thing that I had to recognize is that I was a missing ingredient when I was attempting to get it made the way I want it made in Hollywood. And so I had to step back and say, okay, I need to take steps toward creating an ecosystem where anybody can actually become part of the cast and be a hero. Because when I go to different producers, production companies, studios, etc., and say, hey, I want these people in it because they're real martial artists or they're really, really talented at this particular thing, they're like, well, they're not bankable. And I'm like, oh, okay, well, hold on. Well, like what happens if we put a few bankable people in, but then we connect it to those, and there was just all of this complication. And what really was required was just to go and do it yourself. And I had to find myself and do it myself first, and actually step into a character myself and start building that narrative. So I would just say for you, if you want to actually play a character in Justice for Hire, which I think is amazing, because I think I think a lot of people need to hear what you have to say personally. I think that would be spectacular. And if that's not something that you would like to do, then it's more of a writer, director, producer thing of organizing the other people that you've come across. But if it is you, I would start with just making a few short pieces of your story and how you're connecting that to the larger shared story world.
Yeah, the trick is to start. It's not to try to get to the ending right away. It's to learn on the way.
Well, I've recognized that the neighbors, I mean, the conversations are going like, we pass each other in the vestibule of the building. We stand, maybe we chat when we standing outside on the stoop. But, the conversation has been, hey, there's a tennis court across the street. We got rackets, and everybody kind of goes, oh, that sounds like a good idea, but it hasn't. I know that
because you're depending on other people.
Yeah.
You can't depend on other people. You can't. It's just, and by the way, Jan, I'm connected with a company in LA now called Quiver Entertainment. They put out a really terrible movie, but they're doing another movie that hopefully is not terrible with Walter Hill, a Western. But they've asked me to develop a story for them, 2 stories for them, one with Ninja, one that involves Rod Van Cleef. And I was like going, awesome, we're already friends. So if you want to get involved with that, if you want to be my front man out there, I can tell you the ideas, and
sure,
you can develop them because they want to do them.
I was on a podcast with Ron a few months ago because of Demetrius, and Ron wants to collaborate anyway. So I'd be happy to be in any way, shape, or form.
Yeah, we can talk about it now, or we can talk about it whenever you want.
Sure. Well, I do want to, Rick, I want to talk about that, but for your Justice for Hire thing, I would like, your story is so clear, and it's also so beautifully structured with a great cliffhanger, like a comic book.
Right. It's also Rick Fu.
And it's Rick Fu. And
yeah, you want to do Dan Fu, you want to do you Fu.
And it's so aligned with what we're like. One of the things that started coming to me was so my intention with us finishing this equity crowdfunding campaign is part of the cash is utilized for production fund. And the production fund is actually to pay for more premium content, structured and premium, with folks in our network who would make beautiful, important pieces of cinema to build out the quality of the Justice for Hire cinematic universe. And so you're top.
Jen, sorry to interject, but the thing that is so exciting about JFH is in my experience. Well, so taking into consideration what Rick's saying about starting with myself, of course, but as well, trying to get other people who are not into LARPing and not into cosplay to consider doing something like this with me is a long way out. But there are people right now on your app, literally at this moment, that might want to collaborate and do a scene together.
Absolutely.
And that is so mind-blowing that we could be co-scripting and co-creating a cinematic piece together virtually across distances. And if you're that's what you're plugging me into. I think I just need the push hand, like a push hands with myself is an exercise in perfectionism. I want to make sure this lighting, and I want to make sure that, that I didn't stutter while I was talking. It's like, but if I'm with somebody else, it's more flowy, so So advice from the both of you in that direction.
Well, here's the deal. You're putting the difference between when I've accomplished what I've accomplished in my life because I didn't get in my own way, and I depended on only one person. And I can't even trust myself. So how can I trust anybody else? I've often failed myself. You asked a specific question about scripting and lighting and filming, and I'm not going to answer that question because it's just like Kung Fu, which is my style of Kung Fu is not going to be yours or yours, Jan, because we're different weights, different heights, different nationalities, different temperaments. Everything has to be you Fu. So I'm not going to tell you how to film something. I'll tell you how I'm filming it, and I'm filming it in my style. It's Rick Fu. And so and also I have a specific message that I want to impart, because all the action I think in modern film is not all of it, but a lot of it is done very unimaginatively and unexcitingly. So I want to do it imaginatively and excitingly. And again, not to prove how tough and smart I am. I mean, not to prove how tough and badass I am, but how smart and effective I am. And that means that my fight scenes always should be fun and surprising, because I want the stupid people to do this. And I get to comment on the stupid people doing this. And then showing them me, this old guy with a beard, just sort of goes, and since I'm lecturing, one time Steve Watson stepped on a person's shin, and that person went down like they were shot out of a cannon and was flopping around on the floor in unbelievable pain. And it shocked all the rest of it because we could feel how much pain that was doing. And it's just one little place on the shin that all he did was touch it. He didn't punch it, he didn't kick it, he didn't. So again, my mind was open. So I found out all the other places on the body when you can do that. And so again, my fight scenes are going to be based on the history of bad fight scenes, and with one or two or three or four, my various interlopers who all have specific jobs to do in terms of taking out one to an army of people, doing it smartly and effectively, as opposed to showing how badass we are and taking all this abuse. Yeah, the people are talking about how much they liked Nobody. And I said, that guy took way too much abuse. He's just not smart. He should have been a lot smarter than that. I liked, again, Jet Li. I like Vincent Zhao, who spend their movies using their open hands and avoiding the stuff and letting the other people hurt themselves. Because that's the message. That's my message. So what's your message? What's your message? Why are you
what I think I'm curious about is, because I've never done this. I don't know if anybody really has, except for Jan's vision of it, which is how do we collaborate on a scene? Like right now we're on Zoom and we're chatting, but I would very much like to play and have you say, Adam, stand over here, say this, and to have that kind of how does Larry David's show is, they have a particular style of improv. The whole show is ad-libbed out of a contain, right? Like I very much like, I have 5 cameras set up. There's one on the ceiling here. Right. And I've got five cameras set up in my apartment to film the Qigong routines. But if I could do, if I stand over here, I could do dialogue over here, and but that's so I'm curious about
all this is technical. All this is technical. What's your soul? What are you trying to accomplish? What do you want to say? What do you want the audience to feel? Because basically I'm going to set you a task. Stop with all the technology. You learn by doing. Here's the deal. Come up with your first scene. This is when I taught at the University of Bridgeport, this is what I told the class. I want to see your first scene. And I want to know within seconds, because one of the things as a judge of film festivals, the problems that I see this endlessly. The people who make these movies aren't really interested, apparently, in entertaining the audience. They're interested in doing mental masturbation or whatever they're doing. And I'm saying, all right, decide who your character is. I would recommend it be you, because you have control of you. All right. I'll give you an easy one. I'll do the same thing I did the class. Your character wakes up in the morning. Go. How are you going to start that scene? By letting the audience know that this is going to be good. This is going to be interesting. This is going to be fun. Whatever you decide it's going to be. How do you tell them that in the shortest amount of time possible?
That's like Tom Hanks trimming his nose hairs in the beginning of Turner and Hooch.
That is one of the ways to do it, but also, again, you're way up the food chain with that comment. You want to go down to amateur. You're not starting at that level yet. So, does your guy wake up? If he wakes up, what does the alarm look like? Why does he wake up? Is there an alarm playing a song? What song is it playing? Is he in a bed? What is on the bed? What does every single thing in that shot say about that character to the audience that you want the audience to know? But one thing I want to know as a judge is I want to know you know what you're doing. And I want to know that you want to entertain me. And you want to entertain me instantly. I do not want to see, your promise. I hear this endlessly for my writing teaching as well. When I teach people how to write and how to script and all the rest of it, it's like, well, I was hoping you could see the promise. And I'm going, nobody's going to be interested in seeing the promise. They want to see what you have to say. I had a wonderful editor at Millimeter Magazine. She said, you always take a running jump at your stories, at your articles. Your first two paragraphs are I usually just take out your first two paragraphs because I can see you're running up to the story. She said, I want to know what the story's about in the first word. So a lot of my stories following that were love or money or whatever. But yeah, when you're starting, I've told Justice for Hire guys this too. I mean, there are people who want to see how talented you are to make you into shit. Guys who want, if you're going to work for a studio, they're going to make you do something terrible. But in order to get that job of doing something terrible, you have to show them something really good.
Well, I love this assignment, Sifu Sensei, because I have
any of that stuff.
Rick. I love this assignment, Rick, because I have an Ayurvedic dinacharya, my morning routine that I love sharing with people, and I would love to film myself going through that in a fun way. And I love this assignment, so thank you.
Excellent. All right, I'm going to go take care of my chicken. Happy birthday, Jan.
Thank you so much.
Happy birthday, Jan.
Thank you guys, both you guys so much. This is a huge deal. Thank you for letting me record this. I'm going to put it on Tai Chi and the YouTube channel. I've just quick things I want to say about understanding Rick's chicken. Rick, one, I hope you've seen how much we've talked about you in the last few weeks on my personal emails and the real world emails, as well as you being the catalyst for season 0, episode 4, in which Max Chen gets punched in the face. And instead of fighting the guy who punched him, I offer the guy an opportunity to become a hero with us. And that was very much inspired by your talks and the advice you've given me for years, which I didn't listen to until that episode. And it felt totally different and it felt completely healing. And that energy is the energy that we need in action. And I just want to say thank you for that. And because when you said, and Jan hasn't listened, I'm like, hold on, one episode.
Also, you should do a little shot of me. You should set up a shot that allows me to lean into the shot and go, yeah, we want you to be a hero, but not if you do that fist stuff again. Don't be punching with your fist. That's just stupid. I could always be the bearded guy who's going to go in. Yeah, we'd love you to be a Justice for Hire, but not with that stupid fist.
That's like Ed Boon or John Tobias on Mortal Kombat when they go, woo, toasty, if you remember that. But I want to put out there that I think it'd be really valuable to do some form of short direct address, Rick, from you that we would utilize in our current community round, talking about the cleaner, the series that we want to produce with you as one of our first productions post-funding, because I think that'll be really valuable to let both of our community or all of our communities know that we already are planning something with you that's actually based on your wonderful journey through martial arts and the comic book world that you successfully sold to Paramount.
And also, if if you want to record the actual speech I gave to Disney in 2017, which was called The Art of Screen Action, which the full title was Kung Fu and the Art of Screen Action, which is where you got that quote about how fight scenes can make the audience cheer.
Oh,
That was the opening of my speech to Disney.
oh, really? The one that you told us on the Urban Action
Yeah.
Showcase.
That was the beginning of the speech.
Oh my gosh.
You know, you made a good comedy when they cry, laugh. You make a good drama when they cry. You make a good musical when they move in rhythm, and you know you have a good action scene when they cheer. And then I talked about how you can accomplish that, how you can help them cheer, and the various ways you do it through character. It's not, that's what you have to start with, not with the dialogue, not with the camera, with the character and how you communicate. That's what that lesson is about, how you communicate things silently without dialogue. And you can put the camera anywhere. I mean, that's what I love about the new way of filming. You just pick up your camera and you just shoot what's going on. You don't do, you know, sweeping stuff. It's just capture what's going on. Let the characters communicate themselves to the audience, but because you're smart and effective, you have shown them how to do that. Okay, is this an angry character? How do we show them that he's angry? Oh, wait a minute, my agent is calling. Hold on.
Well,
Hey, John.
Hey, Rick, how are you doing, man?
I'm good. What's up?
Good. I wanted to give you an update. So, Sue called me yesterday. We're going to get on the line with his wife and his lawyer.
Uh-huh.
We put it over today. I just got off the phone with them. They are fantastic. The lawyer's a great guy.
Yeah.
Sue and Ruthie, of course, are great.
Yeah.
So they're going to talk amongst themselves and they'll get back to me. But I'm sure it's there's going to be some. He said the lawyer said there would be some tiny changes to the writer collaboration agreement, but barely anything you and I would notice. So they're going to get that done.
Great.
They went over the deal memo. I was able to answer all their questions. So there are really only two questions, and I wanted to clarify those with you, and then I'll also talk to Peter about them. Is the deadline, how sure do you feel about the January 4th deadline, knowing, and this is the part that I had forgotten about or wasn't thinking of, knowing there's going to be a DOD review in there.
Yeah.
And
it's
it's
not up to me, it's up to two. In other words, if two is on the line doing the interviews every week or every 2 weeks, then I have full confidence that we'll get it there on time even early. But if for some reason he's in the Ukraine or whatever else and he can't act because it's his story, I can't make up his story for him. I can just organize it. So it's up to him. But if he's available and he said he's really excited about it, and he's really interested in it, and if he continues to be two, then we'll be golden. What's the other question?
Okay, so that's it. It's the combination, which you can only answer the writing question, and that's in conjunction with two. So I'm just going to put, yes, based on two's availability, which Stu has said is fine. Now, just out of curiosity, do you know if he's got any involvement with Ukrainians?
No, I don't believe he does. And also, you talked to him today, and he certainly didn't act the way he did, like he does.
No, he sounded actually pretty chipper. He sounded happier in the last 2-3 times that I've talked to him than he sounded at the beginning. I think he's relaxing into this whole process,
and it's a done deal.
And it's a done deal. So there's a lot of good things here. The other question can only be answered by Peter, which is how we handle the DOD review, because I did suggest that there were a couple of ways to go. You could send a rough draft early. You can wait until the editing is done. There's different stages, but I think Peter is going to have more ideas about that. And if he does, we can certainly reach out within the company because they go through these a lot. The only person I know that's ever had trouble with those, ironically, is blanking on his name right now, Jack Carr.
Mm-hmm.
And it's weird because that's fiction. And either somebody doesn't like him or he reached out without the necessity of reaching out, which can always be a fatal mistake.
Yes.
Never send stuff over there. And of course, they raked him over the coals when No Easy Day came out. It was ridiculous. So we don't want to tangle with those folks, but it's going to have to.
I'm just gonna mute them to kind of protect their deal flow.
I felt like he was letting us listen in on purpose. Otherwise, he would have said, given the gang sign for mute.
I thought so too, but I always want to protect the whatever process of the deal that they're working on. But Adam, I just want to say, like, part of the reason that we have this on justiceforhire.app is just for someone to be able to go there and press a button, choose the role of hero, villain, or client, and just say why they're the hero to hire. Even if they're a villain, they say why they're the hero to hire. And that's very intentional because it's a simple way of getting someone to start thinking about the exact things that Rick was saying in his class and the advice he was giving you, which is like, if someone wakes up, do they wake up? And what happens in the experience, the overall experience for their day? In seconds, how do we know who you are and get a sense of you? And this is I
got a great picture of it in my mind just from him suggesting it, and I really, I really feel focused and inspired because, it's sometimes you just need a little bit of feedback and direction.
Yeah, man. And you have so much
that hits home.
You have so much to offer, like as a human being, that I think you through the lens of a character. I play a fictionalized version of myself, Jan. So I use my same name, but other people like Blunt Force Trauma, who just joined a few weeks ago, he's been talking about us for. You met him on the Hero Meetup, and so he built his own costume and everything. So like I think there's a spectrum there, and wherever you fit in on it. There's value, and that to me is the dream come true, that all of us can collaborate. So I would. Are you already on the JFH app? I think you came like
yeah. I signed up. It's just that the original video that I tried was me doing a banned illegal style of in China. It's illegal to do this particular type of healing. And because there was a particular day when 50,000 people emerged to go practice this in public, and because they have a communist government, they said you can't make public demonstrations that large without interacting with the local government, so they banned it. And so it's illegal. So as a villain, this particular move, you bring the chi up the inside of the legs and through the armpits, and then you cross and you put on, right, you start here. There it is. Okay. And you put on this helmet. I can't do it while I'm sitting, and so I have it in a way where I had my hands were glowing under the black light, and I put a trail effect and a blur effect on it. And so, and then I was using an app to, it's like do you know the Harry Potter, like they go like scramble and they disappear, or they scramble and they appear into a scene? Yes. So the app has that effect in it, and you stand there, you hit record, and then it says jump, and then you jump and it makes the animation. And so I had put all that together as my villain entry of like, I come down with this energy that I've built up for like 20 minutes, and it's just that clip of it. But it sounds so great as I'm describing it, but what I caught on film was was silly looking. So I want to try again, which is why I have the cameras set up. I have two lateral, one above.
So I said, this is really all you need, because you press your phone and you can press action and you can just shoot it on your phone. And along the lines of what Rick was saying is that too much of the technical side can really take away from like the core thing that we're.
Yeah, I heard that too. Yeah,
which is really just you, because JFH is also important to remember that this is a no superpower kind of. The only thing that we're really allowing the universe are more. Let me put it this way, like esoteric, potential mental powers, like, so, like,
But
the
I
ability,
do have the
sensitivity, awareness,
ability.
Hmm?
I do have the ability to translocate.
Oh,
So as a human, I do have the ability to translocate. So I wanted to bring that into the character.
so I know, I understand what you're saying. Like, for example, like we have someone like named Guru Merkaba, aka Kaba, who I think you might have met as well. And so he uses like sound bowls and things like that, and he has a whole. There is the Marvel didn't start out with Doctor Strange; they started out with Iron Man, and for various reasons. But the important thing with Iron Man is that Iron Man was a man who put on a suit, and that suit had all these capabilities and brought out aspects of himself, etc. But at the same time, we were very grounded in the human journey there in that first film. And I think that all of the Marvel films, as they progressed, they really consistently grounded us in the human experience before emphasizing the powers. And I think that's really, really important for the characters that we have here, especially for people around the nation and around the globe who have been joining on JusticeForHire.app. Like, you don't need a superpower, and whatever thing that you personally do, and abilities that you may have that may be very rare, and that many people may not be aware is even possible for a human being to do, because I know that you guys like especially if you're doing any of this stuff where you're essentially slowing yourself down, expanding your awareness and speeding up your perception, you could do things a lot of people may not necessarily, even contemplate in a day. And so I think it's really, really important to be able to, when you're offering your character, because I look at this as a service, and now we're talking about like my personal perspective, but as I'm offering my character, I want to make sure that I'm giving people something that is relatable in their day, that they can touch and hold on to, and then bring them into my personal world, where I can showcase more of the things, more of the magic that happens in my personal world. And I think if you take that approach of saying, okay, well, if you're playing Adam, if you're playing a version of yourself, and to just be like, hey, I'm Adam, like you can reach out to me anytime. I'm always there to help or to heal, etc. A very simple video that just removes all the need for perfection, and that's just you saying, this is my character. I think that will do wonders for your foundational narrative, and connecting that to the scene that Rick was talking about, and building out from there with other characters.
Well, yeah, that suggestion of just starting the day with me, like I love that, what could happen from there, because that's how every day for me starts, right? With me starting every day. So I love that as a suggestion of a place to get out of the mental labyrinth of what am I going to film and how am I going to film it and what's the storyline. Start with waking up. I love
those
that.
are just
really
those are just roadblocks. Those are just
Brilliant.
roadblocks creative people put in front of themselves to stop worrying. Because if they never do the job, they never have to worry about doing a good job. So it's just a matter of figuring out what you want to say, figuring out really fun and clever ways. If you find yourself it's just like Tai Chi. I know I'm doing my Kung Fu correct when I start to smile. And I have to actively stop. I want to relax. I don't want to use those muscles. I want to use those muscles to relax, not to get happy, but getting happy is the joy of it. So when I'm being creative for my books, and by the way, that phone call was to let me know that the 10-month project, well, you heard, due January 4th, looks to be a 99.9% go. And so that's sweet. That's a super big book. In any case.
Congratulations, that's awesome.
It's fun. Everything is fun. If you can make everything fun, that it will communicate. And if you're busy getting in your own way with how you're going to do this, how you're going to do stuff that is not integral to the story you're telling, again, my attitude is, where should I put the camera? You should put it here. Just put it here. Take what's in the shot, but fill the shot with fun stuff, communicant stuff. I mean, so people, that's another thing when you were talking about Marvel. I love their Easter eggs. What's great about the Marvel stuff is that after I watch each episode or each movie, I go over to YouTube onto the new Rockstars channel and watch their videos about all the Easter eggs. And there are dozens in every single one. These guys know what they're doing. They know how to fill a panel. I mean, you can learn stuff about all three of us from what's behind us in each of these.
Rick, I'm always looking at your backgrounds. I'm like, look at the Films and Theory book. What is that thing in the bottom right-hand corner of the screen? Hold on, let me pin that. Tighten your thoughts. Wow. Hold on. Let me pin you.
There was a brain that the amazing Creston gave me. And whenever I have an issue, I just want to tighten my brain, tighten my thoughts. So, yeah.
Rick, I want to be mindful of your chicken. And I'm
Yeah, it's Rick's chicken.
I got to go take care of my chicken.
But I just want to say, I definitely wanted to do a video again with
Of the lecture.
Yeah, I definitely want to see the lecture if or we can just do one and maybe we'll set that up in the coming weeks with you, because I wanted to get you on a podcast anyway. I also would love to do a podcast with you. Oh, that's awesome. A podcast with you and Jeff Gomez. I'll talk to him about this because Jeff is now a new partner at New Rockstars, and he's the leading mind in transmedia storytelling, consults to Disney as well for Marvel and Star Wars. And I feel like you two on a podcast together would be mind blowing. I think things will melt. So like, I think we got to do this as soon as possible. And yes, I want to do it like a little. I'll message you about doing a promo video that's essentially you saying, "Hey, we're doing the Cleaners, like expanding Injustice for our universe with the Cleaners," and just introducing that to the audience. Because I think that'll be really helpful for our current community round, and also help us actually get the funds to produce the thing. Hopefully by the end of this year, and we could be shooting with you and Vincent and the whole crew.
I will be sitting here until January 4th, so anytime.
Amazing.
As Jan already knows, but now you know, it's not getting me to start talking, it's getting me to stop.
Well, and I'll connect you guys too, guys.
I'd have to want you to stop to be able to mention it. So that's the problem. I don't want you to stop talking.
That's good for me.
Aren't you both in Jersey too?
No, I'm in Connecticut.
Tri-state. Not far.
No, not that far, but I don't have a car anymore.
Okay.
Good for you.
My car was sabotaged. My car was vandalized.
Oh no.
Oh.
I gave up on it. And also for the last 3 years, I was just driving it in order to keep it alive. So it was a 15-year-old car, but it was a Prius, and some guys came in at 4 in and took out the catalytic converter.
Oh wow.
Oh shit.
Yeah. So at that point I said to the dealership, "You want it?" They said, "Yeah, here's a couple of $1,000 bucks."
Sounds like a good trade. I mean, where are we going anywhere with right now? It's internal, so.
Bingo. So in any case, with this new job, I can afford a new car if I want to get one, but I don't like any of these cars. I go through these parking lots and I'm going, is there any car in this entire parking lot that I want? But anyway, at some point, yeah, but you guys have cars, right?
I'm a scooter forward person in Los Angeles.
Dan, before I forget, Comic-Con.
Yes.
You in?
100%.
All right, because I have to put together the proposal to get to them by May 9th. So you're on the panel.
Oh, thank you. Well, let me know if you'd like the JFH community involved again as well.
Probably, because this is going to probably be the last one. It'll also be the 25th. And so it's going to be a tribute. So we want guests from the whole history.
Hold on, why is it the last one?
Because Kung Fu is dying. The Kung Fu film is dying.
You have the best panel at Comic-Con. You can't do that.
And also the audience is shrinking. You notice our audience has been shrinking over the last couple of years. And also I'm also old.
No, we need to continue it. We got to continue this.
Well, you guys, what may happen is you guys can take it over. If I'm doing JFH stuff, then we can make it into a JFH Kung Fu extravaganza or whatever.
Oh,
so yeah, we definitely want you there this year then.
There's
There's no guarantee I'm even going to be able to go this year. I'll show up on screen. I'll show up by video if I'm not there in person. But, and also Frank is in, and all the rest of the happy gang is in.
Chris Mancini just put out a podcast with he and I yesterday, so I gotta share that.
Have you read the his comics?
White Cat Entertainment's comics? No, not yet.
The Return of the Kung Fu Dragon or whatever. He has 2 of those.
I
came down really hard on him for those. I did not like them at all, because again, they were not real Kung Fu. They were all they were chop sake sui.
We love you, Chris, and we also love you, Alan Goldberg. You know, there's all those people that Xian Ming, even though you kicked me out, I love you too.
Oh yeah, you may want to edit. You may want to edit the.
Are you
well,
saying
Alan
it's
knows
like long duck dong type of stuff?
Yeah. Oh,
Are you saying it's long duck dong type of stuff?
no, long duck dong is better than this because long duck dong is
What's
at
Long Duck
least
Dong?
honest to long duck dong. It's not. It's
Right.
not false. It's not BS. It's not chop sake sui. It's
What's
not.
Long Duck
It's
Dong?
not a bunch of white people. It's not, you know, the Disney Mulan. It's not a bunch of white people doing one from column A, one from column B. It's not Fistful of Vengeance on Netflix. This is all crap done by white people with blinding ignorance to what they're talking about. So
Yeah, Erasure is awful.
which one?
Erasure is, you know, it's like the cultural appropriation and erasure of the
Oh yeah,
lineage and stuff. Yeah.
yeah. It's it's denigrating. That's why I was so happy with Everything Everywhere All at Once. That is not. That's awesome, and that's what's happening now. That's what JFH has to move into. What they're doing with that, where somebody sees what's crap, do what Jackie Chan did. See what's crap and turn it on its head and have fun with it and make it different. And you know, again, revolutionize the industry while
Should we go
everybody
and
else
see
is
this
copying.
in theaters? Is that what needs to happen? Should I need
Yes.
I need to get up and actually go to a movie theater?
No, you don't need to do that.
Because I will do it.
But no way. But Spider-Man: No Way Home was the best kung fu movie of the year.
Well, and then I got COVID 2 days later. Sure did. I saw that.
I blame that on you. So, yeah, I didn't see that in the theaters. I saw it elsewhere. But yeah, we just have to make good, fun movies that people can enjoy anywhere. And the Academy does not have to accept them because they're being stupid. I mean, the Academy gave Walt Disney an Oscar and 7 little Oscars for Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs back in the 30s because they were smart. And now the Academy. Did you see the Academy Awards?
Only the slap. Only the slap.
The rest of it was worse. The rest of it was worse. Because
you know what I liked about the Academy Awards is the gentleman who designed the set. I thought that the set was incredible.
That's a great
yeah,
point.
but unfortunately, they took 3 female. They got 3 female hosts and turned them into man-hungry assholes. Then they had 3 with all the actors from the James Bond movies who are still alive, all the directors. They get 3 extreme sports peoples to introduce a uninspiring clip to celebrate the 60 years of James Bond. Then they have 3 Disney live action princesses tell the audience that, oh, we know, parents, that you just tolerate these animated movies as your kids watch them over and over again. They denigrated everything. That basically the whole show was about how we, the Academy, hate movies.
Hate movies?
Yeah, basically the whole
the
whole thing was we hate movies. You know, we denigrate this animation crap, this James Bond crap. I mean, these female hosts who are only given character and credence during the entire show if they're feeling up men, if they're lusting after men, if they're trying to get Kirsten Dunst away from her husband Jesse Plemons. I mean, this stuff was like. So when the slap happened, I wasn't surprised because the whole show was a slap to the face of the film lover. Astonishing!
Wow, that is heavy language, Rick, and I resonate with it completely.
You don't disagree?
Not at all. I think I came here to hear that from. This is the best conversation that I've been a part of about the slap.
Yeah, it was like,
that is brilliant, Rick. Truly.
It's only because it's true.
Yeah.
I mean,
my whole body felt that one.
I'm watching the show like that. So in any case, you know, I'll go on forever.
I love
chicken. The stove is off, but I have no idea what condition the chicken is in.
I've also been waiting on my own chicken.
Oh my God, that's right. You were served a long time ago.
Well,
now you all know me. Happy birthday, buddy. When's your birthday, Adam? When's your birthday?
May 9th.
Oh, my best friend and my brother are May 7th.
Well, so this is what's interesting. May 7th can sometimes fall on Mother's Day, as does May 9th. And but Jan is actually like, what is he, like 29 days older than me. So and I think we were born like within the same geography of Jan, were you born in New York?
Yeah, 92nd Street.
Yeah, so I think
Two
for
midwives.
me it was, yeah. So I think we were born with, we might have hung out in the same parks as kids and met each other. And I'm pretty sure that that's very likely.
It's more than likely that's the New York story.
Yeah.
So you're 40 today?
I am 40 today.
I'm only 28 years old older than you. Oh,
Hey,
man,
man, that was a good life.
that's good. The beard. Anyway,
But you know, Lee Chin Young lived to the age of 256. So how much would you like to get to? You know?
me?
Yeah.
I don't care. I was talking with Vincent Lin today from the Ukraine. No, he was actually in Latvia today. He called me from Latvia.
I know Vincent Lin.
Yeah, there you go.
I know him.
Well,
yeah, he is wow, what an awesome person. I don't know if we can even say what he's done out loud, but oh my God, what a
well, he's supposed to be in the cleaners. He's supposed to be one of the guys in the cleaners, but he may not have the time.
Oh my God, Vincent is a literal hero. Like, it's not a JFH, he's not a hero, and he's a literal hero of the world.
He's only 5 years younger than me. So all our discussions in the last couple of years has all been, we're fine. Whatever happens now, because he just put out an article about the possibility of nuclear war. So he put that out today. So when he wanted to call me, I said, you walked into a theater, you shouted fire, and you didn't bother telling anybody where the fire escapes were. So yeah, he says, I'm doing another article where it tells you where the fire escapes are. I said, that's great. But our attitude is, I don't care how long I last. Again, that 4-year-old girl who died between my Santa visits, I've already done everything I've ever wanted to do. Now I'm just doing it again. And I'm doing it better, which is exciting. But I've done movies, I've done television, I've done 75 books. I'm doing my 76. Matter of fact, my 77th, because in November, I had to finish someone else's book because they collapsed on it. It's a big best-selling series. And they called me in to finish it. He did 40,000 words. I had to write 45,000 words in 3 weeks. And I did. And the editors used the word brilliant and genius at times, and I'm going, oh, stop it. But in any case, so everything I do I've done everything. I feel like Jackie Chan did. Jackie Chan told me the last time we had a deep discussion was that, Rick, I've done everything 3 times. And then I realized,
Fireman movie. He didn't do the Fireman movie.
Yeah, but he doesn't need to do another movie. But what I told him then is what he realized his mistake, because he was concentrating on accomplishments, not on his internal peace and need. Because by that time, the only thing Jackie Chan needed to do and needs to do in his entire life, and he probably never will now, he never can now, is break the cycle of abandonment. Jackie was abandoned twice by 2 different families, which completely made him, but also destroyed him. So in 2001, when we were talking about that, he said, Rick, I've done everything 3 times. I went, Jackie, how old is your son now? And he thought about it, and he realized what I was asking him, and his head lowered. And he realized that was it. He missed his opportunity to do the one great thing in his life that he needed to do, which was not to abandon his own son. That was the important thing, and he'll never have a chance. So now I know what makes Jackie tick. He cannot stop running now, because if he runs, he has to face himself. And he already hates himself from the way his 2 different families treated him. So again, I don't need to do anything more. What I want to do is that whatever happens, I want to be able to say, whenever the end comes, that was fun. That was good. I'd do that again. I may not say that though, because I told you this, I alluded to the story of my father coming back from the dead to let me know, because I asked him on his 4th deathbed, because he kept not dying. I asked him on his fourth deathbed, if there's more to this, if there's something afterwards, could you let me know? And he very seriously thought about it and said, yeah, I will. And then he did. So at that point I went, all right, we're good. We're good. And since then I've met other people who have come up to me, and somebody at the last Tai Chi Alchemy that I attended, which was about 4 years ago, came up to me and said, be ready. Be ready. Unbeknownst to you, you're being scouted. And apparently that was spiritual. So apparently there's a lot of crap going on afterwards. There's a lot of stuff, and it's all energy based. So you guys have a head start. It's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when. And then it's a matter of, I worship at the church of we'll find out. We'll see. Is there life after death? We'll find out. So again, I mean, I was talking to my friend Elisa, who's at the Comic-Con as well, because we're talking about what we're going to do this year, for whether we're going to go to Disneyland afterwards. And we're talking about food. And I said, I've had all the good food. Now I just want to have, really good food that I've made myself for the last 3 years. Speaking of that, on to the chicken. All right. I love you. I love you. I love you. Happy birthday. Happy future birthday, but probably we'll talk to you before May 9th, Adam. Take care.
Both. Yeah, I would love that.
I'll get you guys. I'll loop you guys together on email so you can stay in contact too right now.
Love you. See you later.
Thanks, guys.